Well. What do we have here? The King returns. That's right. Sleepy Joe, all the way from America, makes his way back. Skeeter, it's bloody good. Mate, I feel like, buddy, I haven't seen you for years.
Well, 3 weeks, but no, it's nice to be back. And you're right, speaking of the King, I went and visited Graceland and went and saw your mate, Donald Trump, at Trump Tower, did Boston, did New York, did DC, finished off in Nashville. I'll tell you what, my wife likes a couple of drinks and my daughter, Olivia, not so much. I needed a wingman in Nashville, and you would have been bloody handy, I can tell you, because that joint goes off.
Really? Did you enjoy it?
Yeah, it's great. I mean,
it sounds like a cheap trip.
Oh. Cheap Trick's a band, no, Cheap Trip not. No, it wasn't cheap, I wouldn't suggest that, but no, it is one of those great ones. Look, some people love the States, some people don't. I really enjoyed it, and places like Boston, New York, you can't not like New York when you go there, and just the sights and sounds. And I went to see some NFL and saw an ice hockey game in Nashville. So there's a bit of sport, there's some concerts and a bit of driving, which was interesting on the wrong side of the road for me from
Did you stuff any of that up?
Once or twice, but it's more about, I drove 3 hours down to Graceland. I did the Elvis tour, which is, it's actually quite good, and all the family enjoyed that. And then driving back, I was on track to get the car back to the rental by 6 o'clock. There was a massive car crash. Trucks collided on the freeway, so missed my car return. So I just had to bring it back the next day. But little hiccups, but compared to the Griswolds normally, it was pretty straightforward. No planes were missed.
You lost your phone. Let your phone.
Well, I arrived in New York on the grand final morning, and my phone had died, and you've just fixed it again.
Yeah, in about 5 seconds.
Yeah, about 5. Anyway, so I was trying to find a bar at 12:30 in New York, and I just travelled for 24 hours. So my phone wasn't working. I got directions, but of course I didn't have a phone, so I got lost. It starts raining, so I did not see a frame of the grand final. I watched it on my phone, as in just got back and watched it on my wife's phone, just score update. It sounded like an absolute pooperama game.
Wasn't, yeah.
From Brisbane, absolute kudos. They're the team, of course, that
it was a pretty shizen game. Yeah. Wasn't the first hotel you checked into, wasn't someone in your room already?
That's correct, yeah. That we just had to make sure that they gave us another room. So, yeah.
Didn't they lose your bags on the way over?
Oh, no, we had to wait for an hour at JFK, my wife and I. So they're little things, Schoey. You know when you
sound overly happy. It's good.
Oh, well, because you forget, though, at the time I'm thinking, seriously, you Americans got no idea. But as it turns out, it was all good. No, the Americans are hospitable. What you'll get used to, Schoey, when you go there is having to tip 20 to 25% for buying a can of Dr. Pepper or shelter over there. It's like, yeah, we'll just add a quarter of the cost just for me handing you the drink.
That's what I say. It sounded like a really cheap
mate,
vacation.
$1.67 against theirs. But you know what? You got to do it, Schoey. You can't just keep sitting around Perth for the rest of your life.
Very good. Yeah, that is correct, Skeeter.
After your sojourn to Cairns.
What? Yeah, no, that's all right. I'm under control. Thank you very much. Shut up, FootyCast.
We just give me 5 minutes.
Well, you've been away for 14 weeks, mate.
3 weeks. And you've gone to a Bucks show in Cairns, North Queensland.
All handled, all under control. Yep.
It sounds like you're just trying to sweep it under the carpet.
Well, yeah, it's being swept, mate. It's swept. It's gone. Can't change the past. No,
okay.
It's actually bloody good. Like Cairns. Enjoyed it.
A good spot.
Good to be back, though. I'll tell you that. Right.
The body, the liver.
Yeah, eyes. Shoulder FootyCast live from BackChat Studios. Finally, the gang is back together. But Skeeter will be going to, I believe, Melbourne Cup in.
Yeah, I'm going Thursday week. Okay. So yeah, I'm just having a quick comeback and then I'm away.
Very good, very good. I like that, Skeet. We are live here at BackChat Studios. Shoulder FootyCast on socials. FootyCast at backchatstudios.com.au. If you want to send us an email, San Cisco, November 8th. Go and get your tickets right now. While you're doing that at shelterbrewing.com.au, you can get 10% off all beers by using the code ShelterFootyCast at checkout. Now, Skeet, there's a fair bit of catching up to do. I don't know, like your phone hasn't been working.
No, it has been working. I went to the Apple store the next morning, seriously, after I couldn't get it working because I couldn't get hold of you.
Yeah.
And then the lady goes, oh, it looks a bit difficult. She goes, bang, 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 and it was fixed. So she did exactly what you did, right, except I still don't know how to do it. But no, so I have kept an eye on the trades. And what I have seen, in all seriousness, I know we'll get to it, is a lot of criticism of the West Coast Eagles I've heard, at least on social media, whether that's on the money or not. Is that the types of sounds that have been coming out?
It was really interesting. I thought the public sort of reaction to trades, I thought it was pretty mixed initially, and I was the same. Initially, I was like, what is going on here? Some time to think about it. Maybe they got some stuff right. I went on radio, I think the day that it all happened, and by the 6 p.m, what had started in the morning as what the F is the club doing by 6 p.m., everyone was pretty much on board and pretty happy. That was on the Tuesday night. So, of course, the Tom Barris deal ended up getting done. We went live on YouTube, Skeeter, for the first time. Shot a FootyCast. Huge success, Skeeter.
Yeah, very nicely done.
It was very good. So what we are going to do today, Skeet, I'm going to bring you back from down from Trump Tower, and we are going to go through 9 of the club's trade periods, and we're just going to have a little bit of a review and a rank and see how they went, just to bring you back up to date.
Let's
all
do
right.
that.
Before we get there, though, a couple of kind of newsy things that are bouncing around, Skeeter. Some delistings in both at West Coast, definitely. So Josh Rotham after 74 games, Alex Witherden after a handful, Jai Cully and Kobe Bergil all delisted. I mean, Jai Cully seems to be unlucky, but it's mid-season draft. He does an ACL. Kobe Bergil was a top 30 pick. So that's a high pick to be out the door very quickly. Never really got to see him. And Josh Rotham was kind of that third tall, and Alex Witherden probably in a similar area, not as tall, but a backman, both make their way out.
Yeah, look, Josh is an interesting one because I feel probably didn't have, some coaches, and every coach has players that they trust and they look to. I don't know if Josh ever fit into that category of someone that Adam Simpson trusted totally.
Mate, I had a lot of similarities with Roth, and we spoke about it all the time. I mean, I played in a similar position, so not that I was handing the baton to him, but I did feel when I finished up that was probably his opportunity to go and take that spot, because it was there, that third tall, in behind Barris and McGovern. He'll put his hand up and take responsibility that at times he didn't take those opportunities that were probably there. But it's always a mixed bag when things like this happen. It's never just the player's fault. It might be coaches. It might be environment.
Circumstances, and you're playing this pretty average side sometimes.
In the end, though, it's what happens has happened. So
let me throw this at you. Of those players that we've gone through, you may have already given us a thought or two on who do you think might get another look at it?
Look, it's going to be tough. I mean, Jai Cully, someone could throw him a rookie spot. I don't think Alex Witherden will, and I think he's pretty. Well, I don't know. I won't speak for him, but I'm sure they'd all love to continue their careers.
But you're also going to be realistic as to where you see yourself in a team that finished down the ladder and what you bring to the table for another club.
Yeah, I mean, I know Josh Rotham had some interest there from over east, but not sure that'll happen. So they'll finish up. The really interesting part about those is West Coast has 2 key defenders on their list.
That's pretty skinny.
There's Jeremy McGovern and Harry Edwards. After that, it's Ruben Jimby.
And Harry Edwards, with all due respect, he's had some injuries.
And he's untried, really. Untried as a key man, as the man. So, because he's going to have to become what Tom Barris was, which was playing on the best player pretty much every week.
I know this is no knock on Gov either, but all Australian and he's done what he's done with winning a John Worsfold medal. But his body's also been through the rigours in the past 4 or 5 years. Yeah, it has. But you'd have to think after winning an All Australian, you don't think your career doesn't end a year after you win an All Australian. He's the best in the game. Oh yeah, no, absolutely. But you need some reinforcements. You would have thought to help him. So I'm not sure where they're going to come from.
Granger Barris has been someone that.
Well, I mentioned that as part of the Barris. I'm not sure where's he ended up in all this.
He's been delisted by Hawthorn.
So
I mean, like it might be worth a throw at the stumps. I've probably heard otherwise. To be honest, Skeeter, but that's what's happening at West Coast right now. They've finalised their coaching group. Jared Schofield will stay on as a midfielder. Marco Bello will be the forward line coach.
Now, I've been out of the loop. He's
Skeeter.
From South Australia, correct?
Great question, Skeeter. No, look, I don't know a lot about Marco either, but I'll give you correct. I saw it as well. I like that. So I'm just coming for. Bello crosses to the Eagles from Adelaide, where he's been head of development, and he also has 8 years previous experience working at Hawthorn and coaching Box Hill in the VFL.
It's interesting. Now, footy, we are so across so much of what happens, but Marco's a name that you and I, it's no surprise a lot of people would have heard of Marco, particularly in the West. But yeah, he obviously through dealings, and Andrew McCall has seen something, I'm guessing, that he likes.
Yeah, he was head coach of the VFL side, so he knows how to coach clearly, and he's been in the development role at Adelaide, so he knows what an AFL program looks like. Jamie Maddox will take over the head of development role. I've had a little bit to do with Jamie from the Western Bulldogs. Great operator. I know a few people over at the Bulldogs as well, so terrific hire. So all said and done, West Coast seem to have. They have. You can't, whatever you want to say about their trade period, which they're on Thursday's show, Skeets, so we won't get into as much as them. I want to get into Freo today. But they have flipped the page. Like, they really couldn't be any more new people in that building.
And it's probably...
You actually couldn't do it anymore.
It's time this happened, and maybe overtime some may say. But just quickly, I bumped into Oscar Allen yesterday at Telethon, and he was talking about the new coach. He's like, the news came out, and he hadn't responded for 12 hours, but there was a reason. Because he was in Europe, and so the coach is probably thinking, the co-captain hasn't touched base with me, but he said, look, he's really looking forward to starting, a relationship with him and Liam Baker and the whole group. So let's hope Oscar gets himself in absolutely tip-top shape, because he's going to need to have a blinder next year to compensate for what's a real turnover of the list. The
breaking stuff that we didn't get to cover on Wednesday because they hadn't handed these out was the GWS sanctions, and over Mad Monday, Silly Sunday, Wacky Wednesday, Terrible Tuesday, whatever you want to call it. I'll give you the sanctions, Skate, and then we can work backwards from there. So Josh Fay copped 4 matches, so he'll serve that at the start of 2025. Jake Riccardi, Joe Fonte, Toby McMullen, Harvey Thomas, Cooper Hamilton, all 2 matches. Cooper Hamilton, didn't he get delisted?
And Joe Fonte's a young Claremont fella.
I think Cooper Hamilton got delisted. Lockie Whitfield, Toby Green, Connor Iden, Tom Green, Sam Taylor, Lockie Keefe, all $5,000. And new Magpie Harry Perryman will take a $5,000 fine over to Collingwood. Now, look, this one is, I've watched it with interest, would be one way to say it, because of where I've come from in my upbringing. I've been at football clubs for most of my life. I've seen Mad Mondays. I've seen Wacky Wednesdays. I've done costumes. I've done inductions with new players. I've kind of been in this environment, and I understand the respect for women element, and that is of the utmost importance. And so when stuff like this happens, the AFL clearly has to act, and then we have to put that first. So that's what happened. But I do think, if I can just talk about it without, I know there'll be people listening, and there'll be some people that, with their view up the top, some at the bottom. I'm just going to try and stay really neutral in the middle. If you look at it unemotionally, this is a group of players that have gone into a private place at a pub. They think they're together. The environment at a football club, and a lot of these guys that have been suspended for matches are all young players, and young players want to. In these environments, and whether you agree with it or not, there's a lot of drinking involved, and you want to make people laugh. So they've gone with whatever they've gone with the costumes settings, and some of these boys have gone well and truly over the line. Right?
Yeah, I mean, the Jared Haynes thing, I know his lawyer's having a look at it. There's some there that I go, you just wonder how that got ticked off by anyone.
I just want to try and explain the environment, and it's not one that you think you're posting on social media. It's not one that you're putting out to the world. It's not one that you're rocking up going, I'm going to try and offend people. It's not one where you're trying to be, whatever. You're in a group of people that you work with every day, and you're trying to, I don't know, you're trying to have a laugh. And I know once it gets outside that context, it looks terrible. And I know how important respect for women is, and I know how careful and how educated we've got to be on all of this. But very quickly, the context of this is just a group of young lads trying to have a laugh, that gets thrown out the window instantly. And I know that's why it's so dangerous, and we've seen people say, can't be ever dress-ups again, and we've seen, for me...
So let me ask you this on the way through. Why is it that a club like Geelong has done it so well without any incident for so long? Yep. And this, again, I'm no one stronger than me, and I'm very strong on violence against women, and we know the numbers stack up. So that's in the background, and it's also an issue that the AFL this year made a point of referencing in around. Absolutely, and I'm 100% with it, because it's a disgrace, and we should be embarrassed as a community that that's where we're at. Mm-hmm. I also understand where you're coming from. Here are young men who are by themselves trying to have some entertainment. They got it wrong, no doubt about it.
Yeah, very wrong.
Got it wrong, no question. I still think that the penalties of suspensions from the AFL to that degree are pretty strong. I
just haven't seen a lot of commentary around this. It's either been outrage or it's been, this is bullshit and can't believe the AFL's doing it. I sit somewhere in the middle. I understand it. I guess I'm just trying to explain the context of what this is like. All the leaders being fined. It's a really difficult one in that situation. I saw the statement come out from Toby Green, saying in the moment he didn't get it right, and that's what leadership's about, really. And this one has been made very public, but I can guarantee you, this ain't the only club this has happened at, and this is something that the AFL's trying to change the metric on. But I just wouldn't be taking anyone out and shooting them, and I wouldn't be hanging any. It's.
Put it this way, there's incidents at the moment where, and it's changing codes, a guy called Ezra Mann who plays rugby league, he's been stopped for on a drug test while driving. Now he's going to get the book thrown at him in rugby league from the Brisbane Broncos. That, to me, that's where we've got to just be careful we put these things in perspective, but also let's make it more educational than, a bit like with the illicit drug policy. When you make a mistake in that space as a player, you go through an education process.
That's interesting.
For me, I think the same could have been applied to these young men, and they would have learnt like that. Now, I'm sure they're going to learn just as quickly with the fine as well, but I still think you can be educational without having to go as strongly with the suspensions, etc. That's just my personal point of view. Others will say, and again, we go back to the same theme. The respect of women is absolutely paramount, but I still think you can get the punishment right without going full-handed on it.
Will Schofield, Mark Redding's Shelter FootyCast. All right, Skeet, let's get into 9 of the teams, see how they went in the trade period. Let's start here in the West. Haven't given Fremantle much love. I might say before we move on there, they have made a couple of coaching announcements at Fremantle. Jade Rawlings will take over the back line. So,
like him, he's a good fella. Yeah, good person as well.
Good coach. Coached with Richmond.
Yeah. I've got even a gut feel. Has he done some caretaker coaching in that space as well? I have met him before. He's a really good fella, so I think that's a nice pickup.
Yep, very good. Sam Naismith will take over the ruck coaching duties. So he's
only
delisted this year.
Recently out,
yeah, that's right. And then Todd Curley will take over opposition analysis. So who's at South Fremantle? Todd Curley.
So Curls, it sounds a bit like Damien Harvey. Oh, no, don't get me wrong. Here, Curls has finished South Fremantle. I'm thinking that he needed to go back and spend some more time with his family and work in his business, which I'm sure was his intention. This has come up, and it's pretty hard to knock back that opportunity. So Curls gets his chance, and good luck to him.
Very good. Let's have a look at Fremantle. He served as a caretaker coach of the Richmond Football Club for 11 games in 2009.
So I've been out of the loop, and I still reckon I've got
2009, mate.
Well, that shows my memory. You think I just went to the Jack Daniels distillery and I just blew it away. I've still got something up there. Just
is right. Okay, Freo. This is what they did in the draft, in the trade, Skeeter. Shea Bolton and pick 14 come in. They lose 10, 11, 18. And they will have draft picks 14, 30 and 67 coming in. Of course, the biggest one there is Shea Bolton. He was the guy they wanted. He's your man. You must be happy. You can get to call him every second week now, Scott.
I love him. There's still a question mark as to the way he comes back here and how he applies himself.
No, I've got no question marks. This is a premiership move from Freo for me.
No, I'm saying do it. I just want to make sure Shea Bolton comes here and really embraces, because there's always expectations when a player of his ilk comes to the club. So if he can play to the level that we know he can, he's going to be a pickup. I know, again, on social media, lots of discussion about what they've given up to get him. What is it, pick 10,
so
11?
10, 11, 18. And they've effectively moved 11 back to 14.
Yeah. So does that still leave them in the mix moving forward next year to land another big fish a la a Warner? I'm not sure. But I think you've got to take, as a West Australian club, the players who want to come home who are quality when you can. And it's rare. It's unlike a Geelong where there's so many players, whether it's Clayton Oliver, Bailey Smith, who are disenfranchised with their current club. They don't want to move to WA. They don't want to move to South Australia. But if they can go to a Geelong, so it's easier for them to get that player movement. Yeah. For us here in the West, it's imperative that we, if you're West Coast or Fremantle in this case, you take those players, providing it stacks up. And look, they might be ahead, they might be behind on this deal, but they get a quality player. And if he plays really good footy, I say this, it turns him into not just making the 8, but a potential top 4 side. Yeah, I agree. They need to go and do both of those things to win a flag as well. So I think he's a difference maker. He's going to go and kick. How many goals does he kick next year for him? Does he kick 30 to 40 goals? If he kicks 30 goals, and I presume he'll play, given the mids,
change up through the mid, yeah.
And just have that little burst where required to change things up. Yeah, I think if you're kicking 30-plus goals and influencing games, that he can turn the game. And he loves Optus. It's like in horse racing, he just loves that track. Yeah.
Very good. I like that. I think it's a big move from them. There's a little bit of chat around West Coast bumping up in front of Fremantle's first round pick now. So West Coast have pick 12, I think, is their first, and Freo 14. So Bo Allen
comes into the mix.
Yeah, is someone that's been spoken about a lot. I'm not going to say I've seen Bo play, and I don't know much about him. But
one thing I have seen about Bo is he's played league footy this year for Peel at times. He's had some injury. I think a quad injury as well. So he's had some injuries this year. I'm fascinated to know what he would be at AFL level in terms of positioning. We know that Dan Curtin went across to the Crows and, hasn't quite been able to, and it's first year, so let's put that in context, find out what he is and what he's about. So Bo Allen, I think roughly in the same ilk, slightly different player, of course, but I think the Eagles, I haven't got you haven't got the list of players that are on their list, but as a West Australian, he's clearly the standout option.
I think to go and get a contracted player, 3 or 4 years left of his deal or something. He's a player that they needed, like a position they needed to fill. They've given up 2 first rounders, so they've played a premium. I'm giving him an A-. I think he's the guy they needed to get, and they went and got him. There probably wasn't any other deal that you're going to go do there. So I think it's an A- for mine for Freo. I think it puts him into real calculations for finals and big-time finals next year, like as soon as next year because of it.
Yeah, I'm going to give them...
Don't give an A-.
I'm going to give a B+.
Yeah.
B+. No, seriously, I think that because they're still, they've given up some collateral there, but you can't get something special, which Shea is, and expect not to give up plenty on the way through. So, it's all ahead of him, but you had to do the deal.
Adelaide, Skeeter. So, Isaac Cumming, Alex Neil-Bullen and James Peatling enter the club. Elliot Himmelberg out the door. They will walk into this draft with 4, 64 and 82. I look at that straight up, and I think those 3 players coming into that club all play round 1.
I love James Peatling.
Yeah.
I saw from him.
I like Isaac Cumming the best out of those. I reckon he's a gun.
Yeah, I think there's, particularly the 2 blokes we've talked about there, the GWS. I find that's going to be adding depth to their squad. Mind you, what they've got, pick 4?
Yep.
And then it drifts up to 60.
Yeah.
So, pick 4. They've got one good look at a really strong early pick.
Alex Neil-Bullen, from all reports, was one of the first picked at Melbourne every week. So he's that guy that plays the high half forward role. Yep. He can go through the midfield and run with players. Jamie Cripps is the guy at West Coast that's exactly like that. He just plays a role that he structurally sets up all the time. He's setting others up and he can run. And that might seem strange, but that player and that specific role in clubs right now is so highly sought after. So they get a premiership player, a leader, and someone that structures and plays well in a pretty young team. Adelaide has. I think those 3 are brilliant, really.
Yeah, I mean, they are 3 players that will give them. And let's be honest, if they don't play finals next year, a bit like the Dockers, then Matty Nix is going to find himself under severe pressure to keep his job, even though he's re-signed the same time basically as Justin.
They have to play finals.
100%.
They have to.
And so of the couple of clubs we mentioned already, Fremantle and Adelaide, we've put them down as non-negotiables to play finals.
All right, great. So we've got 6 to go. You have the reigning premiers in there probably, in Sydney. There's 4.
Yeah.
Adelaide, I'm going to give them. I don't know. I can't really fault it. I feel like I'm staying too positive, Skater. It's an A for mine.
I'll give it an A- because I need some space to move. You just cornered yourself here.
Good. All right. No, I haven't yet. No, we can give lots of A's. But, all right, Brisbane. They basically went and got 1,000 draft picks so they can go and get Levi Ashcroft and Sam Marshall. So they're going to get an academy player and a father-son. Harry Sharp is out the door. They'll have draft picks 27, 34, 42, 43, 49, 60 and 66 for someone when they bid on Levi Ashcroft. Now, Adam Papaleo was in here, Skeeter, on your absence for a couple of shows, and he is a big non-advocate for the father-son. He thinks the premiership team is going to go and get the best player in the draft for free.
Yeah, well, it's an argument now that under these circumstances is worth discussing, isn't it?
Yeah.
And you think of what Ashcroft did in the grand final, and now he's got his
younger brother
coming in. Is there talk that he's as good?
Well,
better?
Yeah.
Better?
Yeah, like he'd go close to being number one draft pick this year.
So you look at that and you think, wow, that's where they've obviously eyeing off that extra player of quality straight away in the draft. Interesting, just with the question of Joe Danaher's replacement. I did read somewhere when I was overseas that they had someone up their sleeve to come in and
Sam Day's been talked about as a guy, but like, no offense to Sam, he's been playing for a long time. He's not.
Is that the player they're talking about?
Yeah, I think so.
Oh, sorry. No, I with that again, I'm thinking there's
Jeremy Cameron or someone.
Well, somebody like I wouldn't say Sam Day's a.
So did you get to see any of the grand final while we're talking about Brisbane? Did you see any of it? None of it.
No, because I couldn't find a bar.
Why couldn't you find?
Because my phone wasn't working. It started running. I'm walking around Times Square area by myself.
Why? Why did you get one of your daughters or your wife?
Because
or go to any computer in the world. Would have just been able to type in AFL in New York. No, you thought you'd fucking take it on foot. You thought you'd take on Manhattan, just run into someone watching. Is that what you did?
I was told an address, and I went down that street, 34th and friggin' whatever it is.
Your street in New York. They go for about 25 kilometres.
Don't worry, I know. I walked it, and then I asked a couple of blokes. Said, mate, do you know where the AFL Grand Final's playing? And you reckon they understood a word I was saying? So no, Schoey, I didn't see a frame. And I told the daughters, my wife, first time in 20 years or 30 years, I haven't seen a grand final. So I was a bit dirty.
That's on you. Don't stop mentioning your family, mate. It's on you. You've made this decision.
I was happy about Brisbane winning, to be honest, because I tipped them out.
I was going to ask, yeah.
I thought it was great. I thought it was great for Chris Fagan, what they've been. I said to you at the start of this final series, if they win the flag, it's one of the great grand final wins in my memory. Given what's happened pre-season, what happened during the season with injuries, so many issues to overcome. They did it. They're the most deserving premiership winners, I reckon, that I've seen for a while. And
they smacked them too, Skater. You should have seen it. I mean, I had a couple of shelters while I was watching, but they smacked them. It was good to watch. What do you give? I'll give them B. I mean, they went and got draft picks to go and get the best player, so they did what they needed to do, but nothing really to write about. They didn't bring any players in.
Yeah, I'll go B as well.
Okay. Thanks for being nice and creative for me, Skeeter. Now, Carlton, Nick Haynes comes in from GWS, and they get pick 3.
With West Coast.
The West Coast Eagles, that's right. Matt Kennedy and Matt Owies out the door, sort of involved in that pick 3 deal. The biggest one that they were involved in was the 3-way trade with Carlton, Richmond, and West Coast. So this was the Baker, Owies, and 3 for 12 and 14 and lots of numbers floating around. But Carlton end up, if you just look at the pure ins and outs of this, yes, they lost. So what did they give? They gave 12 and 14 for pick 3. Do we think that is a good deal for Carlton to have been involved in?
Well, pick 3. I mean, that's the question. Have they got their eye specifically on a player, which you would imagine they have if that's...
So this year, apparently... told from a couple of good sources.
Top end?
Picks 1 through to 14, maybe, yeah.
Excellent.
Are just as good. Whereas, there's no Harley Reid in this one, right? So there wasn't a lot of clubs looking to move up into this draft. So it does sort of say that Carlton have their eyes on someone, because not a lot of clubs were trying to get up into the draft. They've just been trying to acquire picks in that range.
In that first round.
Yeah, because they're happy to sort of take, there's a lot of good players. So, look, Matt Kennedy and Matt Owies, both role players, which is interesting for mine. I would maybe Carlton have, too many of those guys. You sort of look at their spine. Carlton probably has the best spine in the league. Had this discussion over the weekend. I don't know if there's a better spine on paper.
I don't think there is. I think you're
Wiedering,
right.
McGovern,
Cripps, for instance.
Or Walsh.
Yep.
Kerno,
Charlie,
Mackay.
and then Mackay. Yeah.
Right, so that's about as good as a spine on paper to get. But then when you look outside it, everywhere, there's not really a lot of depth, is there? So this doesn't really help that problem for mine. Like, I think Matt Owies is a goal-kicking forward that pops up and will kick you 25 goals in a year. I think he kicks 1 goal a game. Matt Kennedy is your midfielder that you can give a role to, or you can put him at half back, or you can put him at half forward and tag a running backman. So, look, those two players coming out of the club, I don't think that's overly good for Carlton. Like I'm not overly positive on those moves. Nick Haynes is getting old. I don't know if they've improved their side, to be honest, Skate.
Yeah, and it all depends on what they get with pick 3. And I agree with you. Kennedy, obviously his last game at the Blues was one of frustration, and I think he had the birth of his child back in. So things happening with him. But I think he's a loss. He's clearly he couldn't quite cement his place at the Blues. I'm a bit with you. They must have their eye on a player at pick 3. They made the finals during this period. I'll probably give them a B-.
Yeah, I was thinking that B-. The pick 3 is probably, they'll be absolutely wrapped with that. I mean, Matt Owies in the last 3 years has played 17, 18 and 23 games. Played 23 games last year.
Who's that?
Matt Owies.
Wow.
That's what.
So he's plays more footy than certainly what I would have thought off the top of my head. I know you had AFL tables there, but that illustrates that he's been a regular member.
He kicked 33 goals, 13 last year.
If he does that at the Eagles, it's a tick.
Well, he plays every week and he kicks more than a goal in a game. So, like I said, I like him. So I don't think that's overly good, him walking out the door. And Matt Kennedy, I think you need those sorts of players. So what did I say? B-. A C+ for mine. Don't like that. They haven't added really anything. They picked 3. Hopefully they hit someone. We just saw Denver Granger Barris be delisted from Hawthorn. He was pick 6.
So in essence, in brief, pick 3, given the midfield that Carlton possesses, Cripps...
They know they're in the window, right?
Yeah.
They're in the window. They'd want a player to come in and play.
So they don't need a key forward, obviously, at pick 3. They need another explosive mid. Is that what they're looking at?
Probably. Yeah, someone with a
to take the heat off Cripps,
probably.
etc.
They probably need like a Nick Dacos or a Rosé or a Butters. Well, they
it's
exist.
True.
They
at pick 3, 100%.
They exist. So they need a player like that can, weave their way through traffic and break.
You can't lose by having quality midfielders. You just keep putting them in the back.
All right, C+ one. Goal at Collingwood. Good old Collingwood forever. They know how to play the game. Dan Houston, who has been in the top 10 champion data point ranked players in the league for the last 3 years, walks to Collingwood. Harry Perryman as well, good player from GWS. John Noble and Joe Richards out the door, and they will take draft picks 52, 55, 58, 88. So not a lot of high-end talent for Collingwood, but they've traded them all the way to get these players in the door. So, Skeeter, what do we say? Dan Houston to Collingwood, is that a big move?
It's a big move, but it also shows us what Collingwood, and there's obviously going to be lots of positivity about the quality that they bring in with those two players. But a word of caution, with the draft hand they now have, they're not getting any young players.
No.
They may well pick up a golden nugget at 52 or whatever it is.
Correct.
I think it's a real roll of the dice for Collingwood because they're an ageing list.
Yep.
And I know they had injuries this year. I think it's obviously they still believe they're in the window, so they should. But I'm actually like you were with Carlton. I'm not as enthusiastic about the fact that Houston, who wanted to go to Carlton, ends up at Collingwood. That's fine. He's a quality player, but I'm just a bit concerned that Collingwood's looking where they're heading with their possibility of building some youth into that club. Now, they may have it there, they say, but I think there's a couple of question marks as to where they'll end up next year.
If we're talking about a bargain, though, they've paid a first and a second rounder for Dan Houston. I mean, I just think that's an absolute bargain basement prizes. I'm very surprised Port Adelaide did that deal. He was contracted. He said he'd go back to Port Adelaide.
Well, they blinked, didn't they? They blinked at the import.
So I heard they were bluffing and doing this and that. But if you're just looking at this purely from Collingwood's point of view, it's an A. I'm sorry, but yes, you don't have the draft picks at the bottom of the barrel, but you've gone and got probably the best free agent. I don't even know what these players are anymore. It's basically just fucking people.
Best available player.
Well,
most
who
likely.
made himself available because he was contracted. So you can't really say he was
so
available.
Shea Bolton.
Yeah, I know. That's not. Yeah, but it's just ridiculous. Like you could just say, well, we should have gone and got Paddy Cripps then.
Yeah. So you're talking on what they've done, and Houston being the cornerstone of that. I'm not
A-.
Yeah,
I'm coming down a bit.
Yeah, I'm going to go B+ because I'm concerned that Collingwood, their age, their demographic is going to be just tipping the wrong side of the ledger to be contenders again next year.
Okay, very good. I like it. Skeeter. Now, just see how many more teams got to go. Let's have a look at how Essendon went. No one in.
They've got
no one in.
No. They've actually I spoke to Craig White, whose dad, who's at Essendon doing some recruiting, and he was happy with what they have done in terms of getting to pick 28. They've got an NGA player that they're looking at who will come into their sights, and they think they'll get him at that point. But
they've got rid of the package and they've got rid of pick 9 for a bunch of picks. They'll have 28, 31, 40, 46, 53, 54, 65. But they've traded away pick 9.
Yeah, and interesting. I more so interested in your thoughts on the Stringer. I'm not so upset if I'm an Essendon supporter that Stringer goes. I know he had a good season, 40+ goals, but yeah, I'm not thinking that they're losing.
Well, the thing about Jake Stringer is, in a good side, he's a good player. In a poor side, he's not very good, and he doesn't make an impact because the side's not good enough. If you put him into GWS...
But he had good numbers here this year, let's be honest.
I know, but it doesn't matter because they're a shit side, Essendon, right? But if GWS are not... So if he kicks 40 for GWS...
Well, he's also got... If he's got Hogan around him, Toby Green, and he can come in and kick that 30+ goals. But the bottom line with him is, can he adapt to the culture that's required at good clubs to fit in? Because there's question marks over what he brings to the table at times culturally.
Well, I mean, there's questions over his fitness, and there has been for a long time. So if the question, can he do that? Yeah, the answer is probably no at this stage. So it'll have to be a big pre-season. It'll have to be sort of carried in within the GWS walls and see if he can fit in there. But right now, I don't know if you could go all in on that. But I'm positive in a way for GWS. But for Essendon, I don't know.
I'm a C.
C-. They've lost.
You can't go too hard positive because there's nothing at least to look at in the short term.
Not very good either, so I'm not sure what's happened there. Geelong get in the man Bailey Smith. I'm not sure if you've been keeping tabs on his Instagram antics, Skeety, seen his work over.
Well, no, I haven't been kept, but this is the most obvious, the worst kept secret in footy over almost 6 to 9 months, hasn't it?
I think so.
With Cotton on and with him, it's been pretty clear that he's been heading to the Cattery. This is another feather for the Cats, really, isn't it? Their ability to bring in players who are ready to roll straight away, and they got rolled in a prelim, but they also are contending year in year out, and Bailey Smith will do nothing to discourage that. And I guess they'll want to play more as a mid this year. That's what he wants to do, I think, as opposed to what he was doing at the Dogs in his last season.
Yeah, well, I mean, Bailey Smith in that midfield could be anything, really. But
he's still young enough.
We don't know. He's come off an ACL. We don't know what sort of player he is, but he could be anything. And so, once again, the Geelong factor, the success. I think it's the success factor. They tried pretty hard to get Clayton Oliver, couldn't get that done. That would have been an interesting way for trade period to end, to land Bailey Smith and Clayton Oliver. But Clayton's come out over the last few days, I think, saying that he had a stinker of the year and wants to get back on track, and it's all good with Melbourne.
Mea culpa, here we go. Let's sweeten things over.
Yeah, well, I reckon it would be pretty good if you're on another 8 years at whatever he's on. It'd be nice to have a chat about your and my job, Skeeter, to say, it's all going well. Going back to work, got $1 million coming in this year.
Yeah, and you got the security of job. Yeah,
off to New York for another 4 weeks. Fly around. I mean, you're actually like an AFL player. This is what AFL players do, mate.
October.
Work hard for the year, and then they're just off to America and
Melbourne
off to the Melbourne Cup. Well, you're a bit like Bailey Smith.
Well, I've been around 20 years longer than you, so I sort of,
So you got a bit of money?
No, I've just, my wife is my accountant, and she'll save the money, and I just spend it where I can.
Was there any gambling's become sort of legal over there.
Yeah, I did have one multi over there, which went okay, but I couldn't partake. Certainly not in Australian sport, but on the NFL. But yeah, it's a bit more problematical. It's amazing they've got everything. I mean, you can go and there's everything in the world, including buying guns when you're 16. But you're very hard to put a bet on.
Did anything surprise you over there?
The tipping's got out of control, I'd suggest.
Did you didn't have any confrontations with anyone?
No, but in all seriousness, we're in Washington at DC at DuPont Circle, which is a touristy place. I went inside to a restaurant. We just got there. I was getting some orders. My 2 daughters came inside. I was sort of with tears in their eyes, and there'd been 5 gunshots out the front, and they had to duck. My wife said, someone out there said, duck undercover, so they got undercover. My wife said, get inside. So there were gunshots there. They came inside. I was next to an American woman. I said, apparently there's gunshots. And, she was very polite. She said, oh, yeah, that's, they're we're not saying they weren't concerned, but it's more a case of they're accustomed to these things happening, and we certainly, given our gun policies, aren't across that.
Yeah, that's grid.
But so they're some of the nuances, Schoey, of travelling overseas. But I will say this, that I think Geelong, when it comes to hitting the mark from them, that was what they're after. That's what they get.
Right.
And they still become, I know this is the results of trade, but they remain in the window just off the back of that, don't they?
Yeah. Well, yeah. You can't take him out. You basically can't ever. We're just going to have to leave him in.
They're only 20.
You have to leave him in for the 8.
He's only 20. Is he 23, 24, Bailey? So he's got 5, 6, 7 years left.
What's the grade? I gave pick 17 for him.
I'm saying A-.
B+. B+ for my Gold Coast. The Gold Coast Suns. Now, this is an interesting trade period for them. They get in Daniel Rioli, John Noble and Elliot Himmelberg. So they had, a key position player, a running defender in John Noble. And we don't know what Daniel Rioli is. He's been playing as a backman. We've seen him as a forward. We've seen him as a midfielder. But Jack Lukosius out the door as a top 10 pick, been there for quite a while now. Rory Atkins out the door. He was playing in the VFL for Gold Coast, and pick 6 out the door as well. They paid for Daniel Rioli. They paid 6 and 23 for Dan Rioli. Overs, unders, about right.
Now, correct me if I'm wrong, he won the Jack Dye medal this year.
He did for the worst team in the AFL.
Yeah, okay. Well, he was still the best player at their footy club,
Sure.
and he had a pretty good year. Let's be honest. And I think it's a given that he's that running half back, isn't he? Isn't that what? That's what he's.
Yeah, probably is.
Known as.
That's what he's been doing at Richmond. Yes.
You think he might change?
Or did he do it? I don't think he did that under Hardwick, did he? As much.
No, probably not.
Like he was developing into that, but he's probably established himself. He didn't win any best and fairest as a halfback flanker.
No. John Noble, a bit in the same ilk, obviously missed a grand final. Considered at Collingwood probably not quite up to that level.
Well, he was like the 23rd player for quite a while there, wasn't he?
Exactly. Now they've got Dan Houston, so that, I would have thought John Noble is a
good addition.
Yeah, it's a handy addition. And I think they probably get a pass mark, certainly for those players that are coming in. They had a really good draft hand. Their first pick now, in the 30s, late 30s. So, yeah, I mean, it's all about what they can do after getting their list together. I think Rioli, Noble, Himmelberg to a lesser extent, I think they get have a little win there.
B+.
Yeah, I'll go with B.
Okay, thanks. GWS, last team we are doing today, they get in. Jake Stringer, pick 16, pick 21. Out the door, Isaac Cumming, Harry Perryman, James Peatley, Nick Haynes. They'll go in with drafts of picks 15, 16, 21, 37, 56, 74.
It's a lot of quality out.
Yeah, it's not going to be an overly great grade for mine because you've got an ageing midfield in Kelly, Whitfield, who's a back
Tom
flanker.
Tom Green's got a lot of upside. Still.
Yeah, and Stephen Cornelio. So they're getting older. They're not too old, but they are getting older, and you get young midfielders all out the door, and Cumming, Perryman, Peatling. I'm just big on I'm big on the 15 to 22 in your team, as in your 15th best player to 22nd. If you can make that really solid, you don't have to have superstars through that area. If you can get role playing players, you can get guys that don't get things wrong, that can take clean ground balls, all that stuff. Get all the little things right. I've seen enough of those three players at AFL level to think, I don't think that's a good thing. These guys are out the door.
But when you say out the door, was it their call to push to get out, or was it the Giants?
I think most of them, yeah. I think most of them.
That's what I'm saying. So if the players wanted out, their hand was forced to it, wasn't it?
Haynes is. So no, I think these guys have. Yeah. So sorry.
Yeah. My point was, you're saying it wasn't great for the Giants, but they didn't have much choice if they wanted to leave. So in replace of that, pick 15, 16, 21. So they've got you talk about the top 14 thereabouts being really even. So
they should add 3 more.
They should. You're right, though. I mean, you know what you got from those players. You're still not sure what you're going to get from those picks. So I think unfortunately with the Giants, there is that constant feeling of how do we keep this talent here together for a long period of time.
I'm going to give that a B- for mine.
I'll give it a C+.
Yes. Are these questions and comments Yes. All right, there's a couple of comments here. We'll finish off with these. I'm not sure how much they have to do with anything. I'll just say this. Aaron Pence last Thursday, Skeeter at fucking last. I'm so glad I've loaded up on the big sausage. Thanks for paying for my date tomorrow night, Mark Reddings, you big naughty.
What's a big sausage? I've got no idea what he's talking about.
I've loaded up on the big sausage. Thanks for paying for my date tomorrow night, Mark Reddings, you big naughty. Did you give some tips out or something? Or
not.
What have you done? Who's the big sausage? Where's that been racing? Randwick or Bunbury?
We had the Everest on the weekend. We had the Caulfield Cup, Cox Plate this week. And I've got no idea what that means. But maybe I saw the Hippie Club after the Waffle Grand Final. I've got no idea.
I don't know either. I don't know where these questions are going. I was going to ask them. Angus, hey guys, I had a thought. Now that the Hawks don't have pick 14, would Sydney be interested in trading Warner for Barras? And we split pick 3. No, that's done. We're not going through any more trading permutations, mate. It was a wild 3 weeks you missed. I can tell you that. There was just for literally 3 weeks, people are just throwing out random shit that could happen. You know?
Do you enjoy that period? Because I must admit, my bread and butter, what I love is in season.
Yeah.
But this does attracts a lot of attention, that the trades and what draft collateral you get, and a lot of people love it. I'll take it with a grain of salt, to be honest. I can't wait for the fixtures to come out. The draft's terrific, but yeah, this is a time of the year where people get invested in and really connected or disconnected with their club, depending on how well they think they've done or whether they've messed up an opportunity.
Did you get yourself in any trouble over in the States?
No, not really.
I mean, I saw you getting changed in Central Park.
I went for a run with my daughter.
Why did you just walk? Where running?
Because we'd been doing other stuff. I took my wife in a horse and carriage for our 25th wedding anniversary.
And then you want to go for a run after that?
No, there was a different day. But no, we did a couple of things. It's stuff. It's just stuff you do in the States. I know it's touristy.
All you're telling me is I'm going to have to go to live and I'm going to have to get some goss, mate. Because you're not giving me a lot.
There were a couple of numpty moments from me, but I can't remember. I can't remember. But I'm sure you'll find out. But no, it was a really good trip. Everything went pretty well.
Sounds too bloody good for mine.
No, it's the States. States. It was the election's not far away. I went and watched the Aaron Rodgers for the Jets, and they're terrible.
Who did you watch them against?
Against
Vikings?
Denver.
No.
They didn't score a touchdown, the Jets. It's raining, and so I was standing there had 3 beers. I had 2 beers. They weren't Sheldons, they're a lot more expensive, at $22 a pop Australian. And I thought, do I have another beer or do I have some food, nachos, for about $28 Australian? So I had another beer. So I just had 3 beers.
Did you have a tip at the football too?
A what?
Did you have to tip at the football?
A tip?
Did you have to tip for the nachos?
Yeah. No, when you go and get a beer at the bar, say like an Optus Stone, you give them their card and it comes up, price, tip 18%, 20%, 22%.
Were you looking for the 0%?
I was looking for no thank you. So I just did 18% once. But no, they get you everywhere. They're geniuses, the Americans.
Did you try to tip more for like good service? Were you?
No, when we put it this way, when there's decent service and look, everyone was hospitable, they were lovely, but yeah, you try and put it this way, in brief, caught up with a mate of yours and went to lunch with him, James Thompson.
Tomo.
He did.
Mate,
and we went
he's
to lunch.
The king over there.
Yeah, mate, we went to this beautiful restaurant, great view over New York. It was just amazing. But at the end of the day, him and my wife sorted out the bill. I reckon because we split it, I think we've given him a 40% tip instead of 20% in total. So I think we stuffed that up royally. But so we've given him like a big tip. But anyway, it's only money. We'll just come back and earn it.
That's it. Very good. So we'll lock you into the Shelter FootyCast for the next 14 years. ShelterBrewing.com.au. Go over there. ShelterFootyCast.com.au. Skeet, we'll be back Thursday to get through the rest of the sides. I'll find some funnier stories from you out of America, and I'm sure you'll just be back to the bloody grind, just working, aren't you?
Nothing better than coming back and doing all this stuff. Love it. Wouldn't trade it.